Do you know what is the real AQI of the air that you are breathing? Not the AQI that gets reported every day on your app. Every winter in the northern India, especially Delhi, as you step outside and there's this thick haze sitting over the city, you end up checking your phone and the app would say that the AQI is either hazardous, unhealthy, or moderate. I've been thinking about what this really means for the air that I breathe, especially since the time that I stayed in Delhi for a short duration of my life. And also when recently Nithin Kamath posted about something related to AQI and open sourcing this data. So I read about it and I learned that every city has a handful of these government sensors that are scattered across the entire city, the size of a metro, especially Delhi. Those sensors end up reporting just one number. Some reports say that this number is averaged across the whole city, and some claim that this is the highest sub-index value among the pollutants that are measured. And this worst pollutant approach ensures that the reported AQI reflects the most significant health threat in the city at that point of time. But here's the issue. Within a single day, you could be moving to completely different air environments. It could be your commute, your office, a park, a market, and each one has a different AQI. The amount of time that you spend in each one of them also determines what is your actual exposure to this air. No app actually accounts for that. They all would show you your city's air, but not truly yours. So this is what had been annoying me for a while. Air quality in northern India sometimes could hit 5, 6, 7 times the WHO limit, which is driven by crop burning, the cold air getting trapped closer to the ground, and this density traffic that also contributes to the pollution. But even knowing that city level number, I had no way of knowing what I am personally breathing and in the places that I have actually gone. That's where I think the gap exists and I wanted to really close it. And it turns out that both the data sources you need to close this gap already exist and both of them are free. So I put on my product builder hat and built something taking help from Claude code. Your Google Maps timeline has a record of every place that you visit, provided you have enabled the location and the history. When did you arrive? When did you leave? What are the coordinates? And the global air quality databases aggregate government sensor readings from almost over 100 countries, including India's CPCP network across cities like Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, and various other cities and towns. What is missing is a connector, a tool that knows your location history and it matches to the nearest sensor and gives you a personalized exposure number, which is weighted down by how long you are at each of those places. That's where Breathprint solves for the problem. It runs entirely on your machine. There's no cloud or like no subscription needed for it. The output is a detailed weekly report and a summary that gets pushed to your WhatsApp. The solution is very simple. It is just 3 scripts and you can run it once weekly. The first script parses your Google Maps export, which obviously you will need to manually download from your Google Maps location history. And it geocodes your locations using something which is called as OpenStreetMap. The second script fetches the AQI for each of those places using the coordinates. The third one calculates your time-weighted average, which is different hours at AQI 60 versus different hours at AQI 200, and sends this final result using an LLM-powered compiled plain English report to your WhatsApp via Twilio. A few choices I would like to quickly call out that I made. Number one is when you are moving, you are passing through multiple different air environments. A commute route does not have one AQI. So I have used stationary visits that are a more meaningful unit, which is this place for how long and what was the air over there. The second one is that India's national PM 2.5 limit is 60 micrograms per cubic meter. The WHO limit is 15, which is 4 times stricter. So I have benchmarked against WHO's limit because it's scientifically grounded global reference. So it is 3.2 times X the WHO limit, which is more honest within the national guidelines. Quick note before we get into the demo, this will run on synthetic data. I have tested it on my real location history, which is based out of Seattle, but I'm not putting that on the camera. Instead, I have used and built a realistic data set based on one of my friend who moves a lot between Delhi and Bangalore across like a typical week, which includes their work, dinners, a park walk, a transit day. So it's the same JSON format, but synthetically created, which is using real Google Maps export. So everything that you're going to see is in real time. All right, let's run it. Just one command that will kick off all 3 steps in sequence. Step 1, it's reading the timeline JSON and pulling out every place visit. From the week, notice it's only picking up the visits and not the time spent traveling between them. And for each location, it's calling OpenStreetMap to reverse geocode the coordinates into a readable name. Step 2, for each of those 15 locations, it's querying the nearest air quality sensor and pulling the PM 2.5 reading, Delhi sensors, Bangalore sensors, completely different air quality profiles as we are seeing. And look at this, you can already see the contrast between the Delhi locations and the Bangalore locations. And we did get a good coverage of all the 15 locations, and it was able to find the sensor within 10 kilometers. In the final step, it is calculating the exposure time and calls LLM for the narrative building, and Twilio pushes the summary to WhatsApp, which we'll see shortly. And here's the WhatsApp output. It gives me a weekly average AQI PM 2.5 against the WHO limit, and the full location table, which is sorted with the worst at the top to the best air quality towards the end, with the date and the city on every row. So there's no ambiguity about which work entry it is. Well, was it in Delhi or in Bangalore? And that's how the full report is delivered. The report is also saved locally. That's how my complete pipeline runs with just one command in less than few seconds, from the raw locations data to a complete personalized feed of air exposure diary in your WhatsApp. We just saw the data existed, the sensors existed. The gap was just the connector. And with the right tools, the connector just took me an afternoon to build. The goal over here wasn't to make anyone anxious. Most of the weeks, the numbers are going to be fine. But when the air is genuinely bad, especially during a Delhi winter or during a high pollution stretch, during a week which is in an unfamiliar city, you would know. And knowing probably means you can do something about it. Maybe like wearing a mask or taking some actions to be more indoors or in places which have a better AQI. So that's what I really wanted to show and give this power to the users so that they can take certain actions. The code, the architecture document, and the setup guide are all present in the description. Thank you for watching.